What's up, everybody? It's Demo with Demo Vapes. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. You asked, and I listened. The Dead Rabbit RDA. I have had a lot of requests for this RDA, and you know, it's a little bit past its prime right now for reviews and stuff, but you know, you guys want to see me review this product, and so, you know, I have it, so I'm going to review it. So anyway, it is a 24mm RDA, postless, quasi-postless style deck, and you'll see a lot more of this up and close. But anyway, I've got a 0.1 ohm build in here right now tonight. I've got coil turd, where did your little thingy go? I've got some coil turd 26 gauge anarchist aliens in here tonight, and I got these from him in Dallas at the Vape Showcase. These are fantastic coils. They come to you in sticks of wire so you can wrap them yourself to whatever specifications you need. So anyway, on this tonight, I have a 0.1 build, and on this Drip Tech DS by 528 Customs. Let's have a vape. Ooh, it's a hot one. Well, anyway, guys, I don't have a whole lot more to say before we go down up close, so I'll see you down up close. Alrighty, everybody. Here we have the Dead Rabbit by Hellvape and Heathen, finally. Opening up the Dead Rabbit, we are met with a beautiful stainless steel atomizer with a blue resin drip tip, a black 810 drip tip, a black 810 510 drip tip adapter, and a baggie that contains all of your spares, some O-rings, and an Allen key. Actually, 2 Allen keys. More on that later. Gonna go ahead and take this out, set it to the side for now. And here we have the goodie bag. We have 2 Allen keys, one for the Allen head screws that they provide, one for the squonk pin, a bunch of extra O-rings, and this is the normal 510 pin that comes on the RDA. I have the squonk pin installed currently, as I'm going to be squonking with it later, but this does come on the RDA, and the squonk pin will be where this is here. Here's the black 810 drip tip that comes along with this, in case you don't like the look of that blue resin drip tip, or if you just want to change it up a little bit. And here is the black 510 drip tip adapter. Now, I have one small gripe with this. As you can see, the knurlings are supposed to kind of match up. However, on the black version, this is going to look great because it's black and the RDA will be black. But on the stainless edition, this will definitely stick out, especially if you're using a drip tip of a different color, or, you know, if that's not your color scheme that you're trying to accomplish, then that's definitely going to stick out. Now, obviously this would raise the cost, but I would really have loved to have seen a stainless steel drip tip adapter here for this, or, you know, some sort of silver color, I don't know, some sort of stainless steel drip tip adapter would have been really nice. And on to the Dead Rabbit itself. We're going to start from the bottom as we usually do. On the bottom, we have a nice protruding 510 pin. Now this pin protrudes on the squonk pin just as it does in the regular 510 pin, so you should have no problems running this on your hybrid at all. This protrudes plenty for me, and I find it absolutely just fine. On the bottom, we have Hellvape laser etched by Heathen and Hellvape there, and I have serial number 98, and actually that will affect what I tell you guys later on in the review and how I view some of these O-rings, but I'll get to that in a little bit. On the front, we have a nice deep Dead Rabbit engraving. Nothing on the back. And on the sides, we have 2 airflows. Now, you'll notice that these airflows go in and down. That is a really, really great way to smooth out the airflow as well as prevent pretty much any and all leaking. I have not had any leaking with this at all. They sit so high up off the deck that unless you just flood the hell out of it and then tip it over, it's not gonna leak on you. Up top, we have a blue and purple, oh, no, come back, no! Up top, we have a blue and purple resin drip tip. Now, this is a great drip tip. I really love when companies give you the option to choose a color of drip tip straight from the factory, so that way you don't have to go out and buy some aftermarket drip tips yourself, unless you want to, of course, but if you would rather not, you can just get them straight from the factory, and this comes in a variety of colors. There are so many colors, too many to mention, so, you know, you're gonna have to check it out yourself and see what colors you like the best. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stick this on a mod so I can get this off. Pulling this top cap off. Ugh. Nice stiff O-rings right now, but when they get lubed up, they definitely loosen up, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Now, here we have the top cap right here. Inside, you'll see we have the AFC in there, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get this out for you guys. This is insanely difficult to get out. I'm going to push this drip tip out first, of course. Now, this AFC is just absolutely a bitch to get out. Oh, well, so it came out nicely there. That wasn't too bad. I've had a lot of trouble in the past with it where I've had to stick my finger through here and just just jam on it, and it just takes forever to get it out. I don't know what the deal is with that. So the O-ring tolerances across this are not the greatest, and they have fixed that, actually. So you know what? I don't want to get into this right now. We'll talk about this up top. All right, and on the inside of the top cap, we have a nice conical shape design. We have some airflows in there. Now, one thing you'll notice, if I can get in close enough, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see this, but the machining on these edges is just a little bit rough. It's just not the cleanest machining, and I know I've got some little paper towel debris there, but definitely the machining on these edges is just a tad rough. So you know, not too huge a fan of that. You know, they're definitely a little rough. You can feel it when I stick my finger in there. I can feel them on the edge of my fingernail. It won't really affect the way it vapes, but it is definitely just a little quality control thing that I've noticed. You can see that edge. That edge looks really sharp. Alrighty, everybody, and we are on to the much celebrated deck section of the Dead Rabbit. This is a really amazing deck section. Anyway, the namesake of the Dead Rabbit comes from these bunny ear posts. They look like bunny ears, and that is where the name Dead Rabbit came from, among some other things as well. Vaping Heathen is a big fan of the gangs of New York, and apparently one of the gangs is called the Dead Rabbits, I think. I think it's the Irish gang, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen the movie myself, but that, I think, is another inspiration for the name as well. But really, the benefit of this deck design is that you can do a postless style deck, but maintaining the convenience of having posts. So what I mean by that is you can really pull out these screws. The main benefit of this is that you can unscrew these posts. You could take a coil, you could just pop it in there, and it goes all the way through, which gives you a lot of latitude when it comes to clipping your leads. Truly makes it really easy when you can just stick this coil down in there, tighten your screws down, and then go underneath with your snips to clip your leads. Works really, really well, and I think it's a really, really innovative design. So the positive post on this is gold-plated, the negative is not. Now, as far as I understand it, I watched Heathen's overview of this device, and he claimed that in the case of the positive connection, it needs to be gold-plated for conductivity and stuff like that, but the negative post is not. So he made the decision to just plate where it matters and leave the rest as stainless steel. I think it makes it a really cool-looking device, that sort of two-tone. We're seeing a lot of gold-plated decks these days, and while I really like gold-plated decks, it's just nice to see someone being a little different. As you can see right here in the center, we have a peak insulator right there, as well as a peak insulator running around the entirety of the positive block. Now, the peak insulator right here is kind of an interesting thing. This sits right here, and while it does do a good job of separating these two posts, it has another function. Underneath this peak insulator, you will see we have a little hole down here, and that is where your squonk liquid comes out. It comes out on this side and on this side. Much like the Pulse 24, this directs your squonk liquid right where it needs to go. So that's pretty fantastic. You don't have to worry about just squonking up into an open deck and then hoping it gets where it goes. It's really nice, shows great attention to detail, and you know, it doesn't get in the way when you're using it in normal dripper mode either. It just functions similarly. If you overdrip this thing on maybe one side, it'll flow to the other. So it won't lose any functionality just because of this, and if you install the regular 510 pin. Taking a look at the juice well, as you can see, it is a little bit shallow, and so is my depth of field. Hold on one second. Now, I pulled up my aperture to a slower aperture setting just so that you can see this. Might make the image a little bit more noisy, so I apologize if it does, but the juice well on this is a little bit shallow, and that is totally okay though, because your cotton goes in there, and when the barrel goes on, the barrel sort of becomes your juice well. So you don't have to worry about this juice well being super deep. It's just there to kind of hold in your cotton and just give a little structure for that. It's a lot better than the Cosmonaut while being a little bit similar to the Cosmonaut. It is better than that design because that had literally zero juice well, and so your cotton didn't have anywhere to sit. So this is a nice, easy open spot for your cotton to sit and soak up all of your liquid, whether by dripping or squonking. Alrighty, everybody, and that really is about it, I think. I have a feeling that I'm forgetting something, so if that is the case, I'm going to put a little text block after this, and that way I'll be able to explain what I forgot. And if not, we're going to go ahead and build this, wick this, and get out to the top view, and I'm going to vape it for you guys. So yeah, we will do that now. All right, everybody, and that was The Dead Rabbit by Hellvape and Heathen. So yeah, I've had just a fantastic time with this RDA. I say that every time, but I've had a fantastic time with this RDA. It's a really great RDA, and at a great price point, too. It looks really nice, clean. This knurling up top, I'm not super crazy about it, and the reality is it doesn't really help me adjust this top airflow at all. Right now, it's okay, but what I find is that over time, that just locks down, and I really can't get my airflow adjusted after a certain amount of time of this just being on there. So I would have liked to have seen it just a little bit looser up here and a little bit tighter down here, because right now, see, well, okay, so here's the thing. As I said down up close, there's some issues with some O-rings from the earlier serial numbers, and Heathen has addressed this, I do believe. The first 250 units, I think, had some pretty loose O-rings down here, and I do believe it was addressed. I find that these O-rings down here are just really, really loose. And they're not like unacceptably loose, right? I mean, like I can hold this kind of, it's starting to come up a little bit, but I can hold it from that. Oop, I'm getting some leaking. Yeah, I find the O-rings down in the base to be a little bit loose and this O-ring up here to be too tight. And I really would have liked to have seen those tolerances reversed, where the O-rings down here were nice and tight and the O-rings up here were on the looser side. Honestly, I say this over and over again, but my favorite O-ring tolerances are the Goon and the Goon 1.5. The O-rings on the deck just hold on so tight, and the O-rings up here are nice and loose, and honestly, it's just really easy to pull your top cap off, put it back in, spin it. It's just great. I would have liked to have seen that with this, but that's a small little thing. On to some of the good things about this RDA. I mean, geez. First of all, I have to start off by saying the flavor on this RDA is just phenomenal. It is just crisp, clean, even wide open. I mean, especially wide open with a hot build, but even wide open, you get a lot of airflow, but it's still really crisp, really clean, and just delivers all of the nuances of the juice that you want. Anyway, as I said in the beginning, this is a 0.1 ohm coil turd alien build, and oh man, these coils are just fantastic and performing very, very beautiful on the DripTech DS. The airflow is nice and smooth, swooshy. I do sometimes get a little bit of turbulence depending on how I have my build placed in there. This one is not giving me any problems. My last build, I think, was pulled a little bit too close to the walls, and it just ended up being a little bit turbulent. But if you build it correctly, and honestly, correctly for me is just above the posts. I don't pull them in, I don't pull them out. I just build it to the post and I pull up away with my screwdriver, and I find that that gives me the best flavor and the best airflow. The build on this is super, super simple. It's very, very easy to install your coils, clip them, and just overall work with them. It's just fantastic. This RDA works really well as a dripper, but I think it works really, really well as a squonker. The presence of that juice channel in the center that allows the juice to come up and then push out to the wicks on either side is just really convenient, and it means that when you squonk, the juice is going to end up right where it needs to go, and it's going to saturate your cotton and get it nice and wet. And you're not going to have to worry about, you know, making sure to have your RDA level, squonk it level, and then, you know, hope that it gets to the cotton. Sometimes I find with RDAs with just flat base decks, when I squonk, I have to make sure that I squonk enough to get the whole juice well covered in juice. Otherwise, what ends up happening is it'll squonk and it'll move one side, and then it might get your wicks wet on one side, or it might get one wick wet and the other doesn't, and then you end up with a dry hit from one coil, and it's just, that system just isn't that great. And so I really like to see when RDAs really care about squonking. It just makes it a lot easier, and especially because in this situation, it really doesn't dominate the experience. When you have the Pulse 24, for example, that is a squonking RDA. That is meant to be squonked, and you can drip on it, sure, but it is meant to be squonked. The presence of the squonk channels are obtrusive, and I'm saying this like it's a bad thing, but they're obtrusive and it's meant that way. Honestly, when I first got this for the first month or so of using it, I didn't even squonk it. I really wasn't squonking that much at the time. I've just found it just fine. But yeah, the presence of those squonk channels are really nice, and it does dual duty as well. So if you drip in here, and let's just say you over drip or you drip on one side more, it'll channel through that little channel to the other side. So you'll get great juice flowage overall inside the atomizer. I don't know what better way to say that. I get almost no spitback from this. The coils are placed so far off the deck that unless you just drip the shit out of it or over squonk or anything like that, ooh, I can't say shit anymore. I'm monetized. You really have to over drip or over squonk to a ridiculous degree to get it to flood, leak, or give you spit back. It generally is just a really well-behaved atomizer. I honestly don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about this atomizer, really. I have a few gripes. The O-ring tolerances, I already mentioned those. And one of my other little gripes is, this is a gripe in general when you have an RDA where the coils sit up here and your wicks sit way down here. So you have all of this distance to travel. And especially when you are squonking on this, I sometimes find that if you don't nail the wicking, when you go to squonk, it takes a minute for the juice to get up there, and I find you have to really squonk the hell out of it in order to get it to do that faster. Sometimes it'll take all of almost 20 seconds for me to squonk and then wait for the juice to get up there. So if you're gonna drip on this, you might want to consider pulling the coils in towards the middle, just so that when you drip on them, you can drip straight on the coils. That might affect airflow and it might affect flavor a little bit, but if that's something of a priority for you, then definitely consider that. This particular build, I haven't had too many problems with it. I squonked this earlier and it wicked pretty much right away. So it's sort of inconsistent and it vastly depends on your wicking. Sometimes I find that the airflow can get a little bit turbulent and baffling. It baffles a little bit. And I got a few questions about what do I mean by baffling. And baffling is when you pull on an RDA and you hear this kind of this like thunka 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 sound where maybe it's probably a terrible way to describe it, but you know what I mean, where you pull on an RDA and you hear this like, you kind of on one side or the other side, and it's sort of, the airflow seems to go back and forth between the two. And I don't really know of a better way to describe it. I think you'll know what I'm talking about. I hope you'll know what I'm talking about anyway, but sometimes I get a little bit of this weird baffling and some turbulence, but in this particular build right now, not experiencing any of that. So it's highly dependent on how you build it. You might have some issues and it might take you a few builds or moving your coils around to kind of get it locked in and marked in. So you know, that's a con, but it's not a huge deal. A subjective con, that 510 drip tip adapter in black on this stainless doesn't really look that good. And honestly, you know, I don't know how many people out there are still using their 510 drip tip adapters, but if you are, let me know. Yeah, I just don't find it to be that perfect of a look. I really wish there would have been a stainless steel drip tip adapter in there, but of course that would raise the cost. So I understand why they didn't do that. But if you like the look of that and you are going to use a 510 drip tip, I would consider getting the black one or another color. You know, it's just that black against the black would look just so much better than the black against the stainless steel. And that's really about it, guys. It's honestly, I don't have too much more negative to say or positive to say. I mean, it really does everything that I want. It can accomplish anything from a pretty wide open hit to a nice and restrictive hit. The airflow is smooth. The flavor is great. You know, I had a few little cons. For me, as you might have gathered, honestly, the way that something vapes is the most important thing to me of all. If there's a major con that makes a product unusable but it vapes great, then obviously I'll mention that. But in this case, there are no major cons that I can find that make this product, you know, have any problems. I really, really like it. Honestly, I might see if I can contact Heathen and see if I can get some of those O-rings, the new ones. I think that would eliminate the issue and make it that much better. Anyway, that brings us to the price point. I purchased this on Vapor DNA way, way a long time ago, probably in, geez, I don't know, August, I think. I purchased it for $34.99, and I'm seeing it anywhere from $25 in some places all the way up through $34.99 still. So this is very, very inexpensive, and the type of vape I get off of this being so inexpensive, man, it's hard to beat, and I really recommend it to a lot of people. A lot of people ask me, Demo, would you get the Pulse 24 or would you get the Dead Rabbit? And obviously it depends on your needs, but in almost any situation I'll recommend the Dead Rabbit because I just think that the vape off of this is so great and you don't have some of the issues that I found with the Pulse, like getting super hot or some other issues with it, but I don't find many of those with this. And yeah, frankly, I just think it's a great RDA. I don't really have too much more to say. I keep going on and on about this, but it's a really great RDA. Again, you know, you guys asked for this review, and I'm sorry if it's not super interesting. I really can't find much to fault this RDA with. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll have some links down in the description where you can pick this up. Oh, I always forget the juice that I'm vaping. Tonight, we are vaping on this Serial Killer Duchess from King's Crest. I do believe this is a limited release, so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to find it or get it, but Serial Killer Duchess, fantastic. It's like a Tres Leches cake of Fruity Pebbles. Oh, it's so good. This has been my new favorite. So, fantastic juice, fantastic vape. RDA is great, coils are great, mod's great. This is a great vape, man. I'm really happy with this. As I said just a second ago, I'll have links down in the description for you to go ahead and pick this up if you want. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to hit the like button down below. And if I've earned your subscription, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, both of those things, and I hope to deliver some really more awesome content in the future for you guys. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Demo out.